Warning, this story contains strong language, violence, sexual themes, and sensitive topics, and may not be suitable to sensitive viewers. Soulbound, Chapter 1, The Deal. The afternoon was dark and cold. It got dark early that day. It was the middle of winter. It was yet another tough day for a small family. It was roughly 11 p.m., and everyone was asleep, except for a woman who was sitting alone at the dinner table. Many papers, books, and binders were scattered upon it. Some were bills, others were medical papers, notes, certificates, and other important paperwork. The woman let out a shaky sigh. She was beyond stress all day and every day. How in the hell was she expected to take care of all this? This was absolutely torturous for the woman. And even after asking all around for help, she just got turned away. Nobody was going to help her, or her family, yet she couldn't just do nothing. What kind of mother and wife would she be if she couldn't keep her family afloat? Surely there was something she could do. Something. Anything at all. She sighed, and then something caught her eye. Something amongst her piles and piles of paperwork. Something that was definitely not there before. It was a dark viridian green envelope, with black-colored wax sealing it. It had a symbol printed on it that she didn't recognize. She picked it up carefully and opened it. Inside was a black letter with a golden print on it. How odd. I've never seen this before, she thought to herself before she started to read it. The letter had a short explanation followed by some instructions. There was no signature or any sign of who sent the letter. Hit the end of the road, desperate to climb a way out of the bottom of the barrel. There's always a way out, but are you strong enough to make that decision? Will you take your chance, or will you remain, waiting for something to happen? She naturally got curious. She was definitely desperate for her life to get better. After all, this was no way to live. She read the instructions, took a deep breath, and let out a heavy sigh. She placed the letter on the table in front of her, put her hands together, and began to pray, as was instructed by the letter. She prayed and begged. Please, please help me. Someone help me, she muttered. She needed something, or someone, to help her and her family. Suddenly there was a dim light coming from a short distance away from her, so she looked over. There was a ring of fire, or something similar, on the floor, and yet it didn't burn the wooden floorboards at all. A shadowy figure emerged from the center of the circle. The silhouette changed into many monstrous forms and shapes, until it settled into a human form. The woman quickly stood up and backed away out of surprise and fear, staring with wide eyes at the figure. The flames extinguished themselves, and the figure took a step forward. The figure looked like a man with pale skin, short black hair, and deep red eyes, which had a dim glow to them. The man was roughly 6'2", and quite handsome. He wore mostly black, and a few hints of white and red. He also wore fancy-looking black boots, which had tints of golds on them. The woman was frozen in fear. After all, it was not every day a mysterious man appears before your very eyes. She couldn't find the words to speak to this stranger. He looked at her, his deep crimson eyes meeting her earthly brown ones. "Greetings, my lady," he said, bowing his head a bit at her. "You called for assistance, yes? How could I be of service?" He spoke in a very proper and calm voice. She tried to collect her courage to respond. You want to help me?" she asked, her voice cracking. She must have sounded so pathetic, she thought. The man nodded. "Yes. With a price, of course. There is always a price," he said. The woman looked away. I don't have any money to spare. How could I possibly... She got cut off. Oh, no, 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 no. It is not money I'm after, my lady. You see, what I'm after, as payment, would be your soul. She paused. My soul? He nodded. Yes, your soul in exchange for anything you desire. All you need to do is tell me your request in exchange for your soul, and then sign a contract. That is all that is required for you, he explained. The woman thought for a moment. Any request? She asked, which was met with a nod in response. She took a deep breath and a shaky sigh. Well... She teared up a bit. You see, my family is not well off, and I work 3 jobs, and I also have a very sick husband, and my youngest child to take care of, and I just... She sobbed a bit, covering her face in a poor attempt to hide her sadness and desperation. The man put a hand on her shoulder. I understand your situation, my dear. Is there any specific way I can take away some of your burdens? He asked softly. The woman nodded. I want someone to look after the house and my child. I'm barely there for them, and because of work and having to take care of my husband, I barely have time to do chores and have a social life with my kid anymore. Not to mention that my husband can barely move, so he's unable to spend much time with them too. I just want someone to look after them since we can't. I want someone to be there. I want someone to be there for them. Watch them grow up. Be there for the rest of their life. Do you know what I mean? The man nodded. I do. And I have one thing left to say before I offer you the contract. You are not a bad mother. You did not fail your family. And you are very strong for requesting help, even if it is from a demon, he said. The woman nodded. The man handed her a contract, which she signed without hesitation before he took it. Glad to be of service, my lady,